Lot going on in the world of politics, as always, and who better to break it all down for us than Caroline Heldman, professor of critical theory and social justice at Occidental College. Happy Thursday, Caroline. Thanks for joining us again.
Happy Thursday, Giselle. Wonderful to see you.
Wonderful that Congress diverts a government shutdown, at least for a week. That doesn't give people a lot of confidence, though, as we head into the holidays. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I think that everyone who is in politics is thinking about 1995 and Newt Gingrich and Bill Clinton and the government shutdown there, where Republicans orchestrated it, but then the public blamed them. So I don't think either party wants to engage this, and they will do whatever they can to avoid a government shutdown.
Ooh, good news. Thank you so much for that prediction. All right, as the clock ticks down to the new year, we still do not know who the Speaker is going to be of the House. Pundits say Kevin McCarthy is having to make a deal with the MAGA team to take the gavel. What do you think is going to happen, particularly with Mitch McConnell and him clashing?
You know, it's interesting. Kevin McCarthy has a 4-seat advantage, but he has 5 members of his own party who are not publicly supporting him. And more importantly, behind closed doors, 31 members of his party who didn't support him in the vote initially. And so he has a tough road in front of him. He's still the most popular candidate for this particular constitutional seat. Andy Biggs, who's an extremist member of the party from Arizona, also is gathering some momentum. But Kevin McCarthy just has to negotiate with this extreme wing of his party, and we've seen this in the past on both sides of the aisle. And what ends up happening is that members who, for whom he needs to get a vote, often get a committee chairpersonship or something along those lines. So I still think McCarthy will win this thing. He just has to negotiate properly.
Or another possibility, Twitter is ablaze this morning with the potential Speaker of the House being the former president. You do not have to be a member of Congress to have that seat. It would be unprecedented, but possible.
You know, it is possible. As you point out, it's a constitutional position. All of the other positions that are in Congress are positions that the parties have created. They're not written into the Constitution. There is no requirement that the Speaker of the House actually be a member of Congress. I think this is a splashy move. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the odds are that it would get through. It would certainly shake things up. It's a possibility, but we've just never seen anything like this before.
Yeah, we've said that a lot these past several years. So Monday, the January 6th committee expected to make its final referrals to the DOJ. What can we expect?
Well, I think we should expect a criminal referral for Donald Trump and possibly for other members of his inner circle. Obviously, Mark Meadows, John Eastman, Giuliani, and Jeffrey Clark are being considered, according to insiders on the committee. This is mostly symbolic in the sense that the Department of Justice already has multiple investigations open into the violent insurrection and also the fake elector slates. With that said, this would mean that 2 branches of government would now be involved.
Do you think that committee made a difference in, let's say, the American public's perception of what took place on January 6th?
I do, Giselle. I didn't think it would initially. I've got to say I was pretty pessimistic in the sense that not much shifts public opinion right now because we're so entrenched in our partisanship. But we did see some movement in terms of folks who watched the committee hearings, and not everyone watched them. But folks who watched them became much better informed about what happened on January 6th and the days leading up to it.
And it's not just January 6th and all the other investigations. Special counsel Jack Smith, he's not messing around. He just issued a bunch of subpoenas in 7 different states. What does that tell you?
He is a man who is moving. I know there was some concern that appointing a special counsel would slow things down, but I actually think it sped things up. As you know, he has subpoenaed officials from all 7 states that issued fake elector slates, looking at potential fraud charges there, and also looking at the amount of coordination at the federal level. So he is moving quickly on that, and especially with Brad Raffensperger from Georgia, who was on the phone call where Donald Trump asked for votes. So he is moving much more quickly than we saw the DOJ move for the first year and a half.
Yeah, he means business. Okay, in this new year, 128 members of Congress who voted to overturn the 2020 election will be sworn back in. Here's a question I've asked you often. Should they face the Insurrection Act, which says you cannot be a member of, you can't be a political, be in politics if you tried to overturn the government?
Well, they would likely counter and say I was taking a vote that reflected my conscience, and I thought that there were voter irregularities. Now, we know that's not the case. We know that 2020 election was free and fair, and we've in fact labeled that the big lie because we have so much evidence that it was free and fair. With that said, the only people who can really hold them accountable unless they engage in criminal actions on January 6th is the party itself. And Republicans are not, we've seen there's a reluctance to hold members of their party accountable for not supporting the free and fair election. So I don't anticipate anything will happen with these members of Congress.
Wow. At a recent event, Marjorie Taylor Greene claimed that if she and Steve Bannon had organized the January 6th insurrection, the rioters would have been armed and they would have won. She said it was a joke. Is it a laughing matter?
It's not a laughing matter. In fact, I believe in this instance, humor and in many other speeches is being used to normalize political violence. And a recent poll in late August finds that 1 in 3 Americans think that political violence is sometimes justified. This is a massive increase, and it's important to note that the levels are high for both parties, but Republicans are twice as likely as Democrats to think this. So these, what may seem like inane or harmless jokes, are actually serving a very important function, which is to normalize political violence in our democratic republic, and it should be a major red flag for anyone who loves democracy.
Yeah, and President Biden signs the Respect for Marriage Act. This is great news for same-sex and interracial couples. But if the Supreme Court still overturns Obergefell versus Hodge, the case that guarantees marriage rights to same-sex couples, are these couples, will they still be protected, Caroline?
They will and they won't. It's very similar to the overturning of Roe v. Wade with Dobbs, right? So certain states will still be allowed to pass restrictions against same-sex marriage, against interracial marriage. However, it will be unlawful for them to not recognize interracial and same-sex marriages from other states. And that's what this new bill protects.
All right. Well, I know you'll keep us posted on all of that. Caroline Heldman, thank you so very much. As always, every Thursday, professor of critical theory and social justice at Occidental College, always breaking it down so we have a great understanding of what's going on in the world of politics here and across the nation. Thanks for being with us.